world has faced no greater threat than it does today. But you can't fight this war on your own, Mr. Potter. He's too strong.
The mentioning of Harry Potter speaks for all of us, whether we experienced them through the books or have also seen the movies. J.K. Rowling's creative mind brought a new legacy of imagination to a new level. As Star Wars is speculative to sci-fi, and as Lord of the Rings is speculative to fantasy, Harry Potter is speculative to wizardry. I for myself am not entirely huge on this series as most people are, but I highly respect the franchise nonetheless. But to my experience on these films, the only thoughts I can provide is what the series are in general, for I have not read all the books. I know that many will recommend them to me, and that's fine, but I think these movies can stand on their own as I recap the following installments. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was a magical, well-crafted, fun experience. Thus, I give it a 5-star rating. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets was more of the same formula, except it was 10 minutes longer and it had a few twists like parseltongue, snakes, and big spiders. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban remains my favorite of the series, as it took a mature step while keeping its charm intact. Now call me crazy, for I hated Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. It lacked the charm, humor, and whimsicalness the other three had, and it was way too dark. Almost as dark as a child's nightmare, in fact. But just before I was about to give up on the series, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix brought me back to it. Now it is understandable on how upsetting it was to the readers that the director David Yates ripped out most of the book. But this is one of my favorites of the series, believe it or not, as it was more uplifting. Again, call me crazy. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince was basically 2.5 hours of dialogue after dialogue, and it got so tedious with the relationships that were irrelevant to the main plot. Thus I found it to be a dull installment, but still a passable rating nonetheless due to the third act. So now we're up to the last of the series being split into a 2-part grand finale, starting with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. Harry is now 17, only this time he's on the run from the evil clutches of Voldemort and the Death Eaters, and no longer at Hogwarts. The Dursleys have left, thank God, and Harry's given help from his friends and the remains of the teachers and Hagrid from Hogwarts. With unfortunate trouble, they're chased by the Death Eaters until Harry, Ron, and Hermione are left. They read the letter from Dumbledore's necklace after the Half-Blood Prince, telling them there's another one they need, which is on Umbridge from Order of the Phoenix. Later on, they discover a symbol, and most of the film involves solving this symbol as the characters survive through the wilderness. It's later explained that it resembles the Deathly Hallows, hence the title. It's a tale where 3 wizards were given the following. One is a man who gains a stone that talks to the dead, a wise man who wishes for the invisibility cloak, and last but not least, a powerful wand which was later revealed that it was under Dumbledore's hands. With a lot of running and personal commotions with the main characters, most of the film was exposition. Now I felt skeptical at first when I saw that this installment was going to be split into 2 parts, thus ruining the consistency of the series. But then thinking a little more, I think this would work understandably on the count of 2 reasons. 1, since a lot of people were upset at the last 2 installments where most of the book was taken out, I think David Yates was doing the favors of the fan service, giving us a lot of background before the action would take place. 2, seeing that this is the last installment of the bunch, a 2-part final chapter would sound more detailed, epic, and exciting. How well does it work? Well, considering I have not read the later books, I cannot tell. There's still yet to have part 2 to conclude the series. Despite that, there are a lot of things I enjoyed in this movie. As I read other reviews, they said nothing happened in its 2.5-hour run. Well, I don't know what movie they were watching because if you have to pay very close attention. There was a lot of personal issues with the main characters, while they're all focusing on their needs. One of which was Ron, who's misled from Harry and Hermione's time together. The chemistry is present and done really well. What Half-Blood Prince did was incredibly messy. The other is his concern about his family, where they were attacked at a wedding. He doesn't know if Ginny, his brothers, or the rest of the family are dead. Hermione has been very rebellious and twisted in an unintentional way with her parents. Seeing that she's half normal, half witch, I feel something with her that brings sorrow as she removes their memories. There's one thing I didn't understand very well on, though. Harry had a chunk of a reflected piece of glass, and I would only presume it was there when Dumbledore was killed. It doesn't explain it, so maybe the second half might take care of it. So even though there was a lot of running and hiding throughout the film and it feels underwhelming, a whole lot happened. What's nice throughout the film as well is that we're given recaps of the previous installments, Dobby, Mad-Eye, Hagrid, and several other characters make appearances which feels pretty nostalgic from the previous films. So in my opinion, what did I think about this movie? According to other reviews having a high rating, and others with a large disappointing rating, I think it's on that scale where you either love it or hate it. Personally, I loved it. It's not a full rating for me though, but there was a lot of good interaction. The acting was more improving over the Half-Blood Prince, and again, I like the chemistry. Not to mention how different it feels, as well as the music composition, which involved John Williams even though he didn't perform it. Now I can't guarantee you how content the second half will become. All I can do is wait and see how the second half will conclude the series.
And it is mine.
To the overall rating, 4.5 stars.